President Donald Ramata reiterates Ghana's need for cheap, reliable power as he commissions $2 million investment. President holds meetings with several foreign ministers, and the head of state formally launches the University of Guyana's Confucius Institute. We'll have the details of these and other presidential activities in this week's edition of the Diary for the period May 17 to May 23. I'm Paul McAdam. A call was made for the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry to support efforts to pass critically needed anti-money laundering legislation. The head of state highlighted government support for the private sector as he addressed the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry's cocktail and dinner at the Princess Hotel hosted by the organization's newly elected executive on Friday, May 16.
We are ready to work with them in the interests of our country and the interests of developing business here in Guyana. As you probably would be aware, at the level of the government, we have been putting in the infrastructure, the physical infrastructure. We're putting in the laws and so forth in place so that we can facilitate businesses, new business, encourage expansion of those that are already existing, and to look into new areas of endeavor of our people.
President Ramata also called on the GCCI for their support in the ongoing efforts to pass the anti-money laundering legislation.
As a small country, as you are well aware, with a small population as we have, foreign trade is extremely important to our welfare in this country. And it is therefore vital that this piece of legislation should pass. And not any piece of legislation, but a piece of legislation that will satisfy the CFATF and the FATF so that we will prevent our country from being blacklisted, and we can expand the financial sector, the business sector as a whole, and as I mentioned, make it easy for doing international trade with our country.
The event saw 8 honorary members being inducted into the organization for their contributions to the local business sector. They included the Ghana Revenue Authority's Director General, Kerchit Satar, and Tourism Minister, Irfan Ali. The former Bank of Ghana governor was laid to rest on May 17. On Saturday, May 17, the president joined other dignitaries as he attended the funeral of the former Bank of Ghana's governor, Lawrence Williams. He offered some words of comfort to the widow and other family members on behalf of himself and the government. The president had praised Williams, who served the bank and the nation's financial sector, for his professionalism and dedication to his career, which spanned several decades. In 1979, after successfully completing the Bachelor's of Social Sciences degree in management, Williams joined the bank as an assistant principal in the Exchange Control Department. In November of 2004, Williams was appointed acting governor by the then President of Guyana, Dr. Barrett Jackdio. On Wednesday, 8, 2005, he was then confirmed in that position. Earlier in his career, Mr. Williams was also a member of the Ghana Gold Board and the Ghana Rice Export Board. The need for cheap, reliable power was reiterated by the President as he opened a $2 million confectionery factory. On Saturday, May 17, the President stressed the need for Ghana to possess cheaper, reliable energy as he, accompanied by First Lady Lakshmi Ramatar, opened a $2 million plus investment, Surira Manufacturing Incorporated, at the Echoes Industrial Site.
I know that some of the theories nowadays say that the most developed countries are the countries where you have characterized by having a strong service sector. And that is probably true in some instances. But I still believe that for an economy to remain sustainable and to remain rooted and strong, it is the productive sector that it has to be rooted in. And even if you look into many of those countries that boast about a strong service sector, it is the real economy, the productive sector, that is sustaining all of that from time to time. So I'm very happy with this.
The President said that it can only benefit local producers.
I want to suggest to you, and I will suggest to other manufacturers, that they probably should go into some level of contract farming with people to guarantee your supply and to guarantee them a better price for them to know that they can produce and have their products, they know that they have a ready market for their products. And I would like also to appeal to supermarkets in our country that they should have locally manufactured products prominently displayed on the front shelves of the supermarket if we are to really encourage production and productivity in our country.
The need for cheap energy is essential if more entrepreneurs are to invest in the local productive sector, the president added.
And that is why we have been determined to have the hydropower built in Guyana. Unfortunately, it should have started already, but that has been stymied because you know what happened in the parliament last year. But I am very determined that we should have this and we should pursue this direction so that our young entrepreneurs that we've seen here can not only expand but even start new ventures that can benefit all our people.
The new confectionery factory will provide employment for close to 100 persons and focus primarily on the export market. You're watching The Diary, where we have been recapping the highlights of the country's president's weekly activities. More after the break.
By cutting the administrative arm of the Office of the President's funding, the allocation for the provision of the Head of State Security has been removed. This action can compromise the security of President Donald Ramotar. This move sets a dangerous precedent and is unacceptable for any head of state, government, or right-thinking people of a democratic nation. The disapproval of funds by the political opposition for the Ministry of Finance's administrative arm means that students wishing to attend the University of Guyana will not be able to access any loans for 2014. The move will prevent many students who are unable to pay cash from studying and having a tertiary education. Most of these students are underprivileged and are unable to afford higher education to further their development and increase job opportunities.
Government's efforts to continue the improvement of medical services have been negatively affected by the decision of the parliamentary opposition to cut funding for the specialty hospital and the medical sector. This move means that monies for the provision of medical gear for doctors and nurses, along with new equipment for hospitals and clinics such as those at Port Kaituma, Linden, Kokwani and Bartica, and new ambulances have not been approved. This move by the political opposition will adversely affect the provision and delivery of health care in communities across Guyana.
The Government Information Agency GINA evolved from the Government Information Service and was formally launched in 2002. GINA is executing its mandate of keeping Guyanese, both locally and in the diaspora, informed of government's programs and policies pertinent to development. Cognizant of the right of Guyanese to information, GINA, through its dedicated staff, has endeavored to deliver its mandate to the best of its ability. Guyanese have every right to be informed on policies, programs and projects which impact on their lives. The Government Information Service was in operation long before the PPPC administration took office and discharged the same mandate. GINA is a unit of the Office of the President, and its mandate is similar to other organizations around the world where governments have a fixed body to disseminate their information. GINA will endeavor to remain steadfast to its mandate and takes pride in continuing to serve the people of Guyana. GINA, information for nation building.
A $37 million pump station which will boost drainage and irrigation in the Rose Hall Berbice area was commissioned by President Ramotar on May 18. On May 18, the president traveled to Berbice for the commissioning of a $37 million pump station at Rose Hall. The new facility will boost the drainage and irrigation of regular farming areas as well as those in the backlands.
And I'm sure that this pump will encourage more cultivation of lands, and it will ease some of the difficulties and the problems spoken about just now, about differences between people in the backland and people in the frontland. And we will go a far way
in being able to satisfy both farmers in the front and the back.
The president also called on farmers and residents not to damage infrastructure by cutting irrigation dams, as this would affect others in the community negatively. He also noted the importance of such infrastructure, particularly as the country feels the effects of climate change and the unpredictability of weather patterns.
The long drought sometimes that we have, and a lot of things becoming even unpredictable. I used to be fairly good growing up in where I came from, Carriacari, and predicting when rain would fall. When I see ants walking, akushi ants in particular, or when I see some cockroaches where they're not supposed to be, I know that rain is coming, and I will always have the reputation in my family of being able to predict the weather. But the other day when I was telling my wife rain would fall and the rain didn't fall, so she said, "What happened? You lost it, you lose the touch." I said, "Well, if the cockroaches could be fooled, who am I not to be fooled that the rain is coming?" So we see that this weather pattern is actually changing a lot.
Whilst in Berbice, the president also commissioned the Burnham Park Pavilion in New Amsterdam. The multi-million-dollar project was completed under the President's Youth Award Republic of Ghana program.
The most important factor for development is people. And we want to enhance the capacity of people. We also spoke a lot about lifting the quality of life in our society, giving people a higher quality of life. And you know the old book says, the biblical book says, man shall not live by bread alone. And so too it's true that we have to live by other values, by creating other conditions to give people a better quality of life.
The president also pointed to the fact that approximately 30% of the annual budget is spent on the social sector, and the investments being made in youth via sports facilities are a part of this.
Investing in sport has a lot of indirect and direct benefits for the society. It teaches our young people, particularly in the world that we live in today. You know, one of the international community has identified one of the biggest global problem we face is the fight against narcotic and drug trade, which is spurning a lot of crimes, and our society is not spared from that. Because with the drug trade, you have the gun trade, the illegal gun trade, and that itself creates a lot of pressure and adds to the criminal situation that we constantly have to fight. And we believe that sports can make a contribution.
Those assembled by the president were urged to care for the facility, which will benefit the community in various ways. Close to $1 billion has been spent so far over the past 11 years since the launch of the Youth Choice project. As 2014 marks a milestone in CARICOM-Japanese relations, the president met with the non-resident ambassador. President Ramata received a courtesy call on May 19 from non-resident Japanese ambassador Yoshimasa Tezuka at the presidential complex. The visit was to surprise the president of activities scheduled for what has been designated Japan CARICOM Friendship Year.
So this year is a very special year, 2014 today. It is a Japan CARICOM Friendship Year. So I come here to talk with Your Excellency to further strengthen our relationship between two countries.
This year marks the 20th anniversary of bilateral consultations between Japan and the regional grouping. The CARICOM Japan Public-Private Joint Economic Mission is a forum in which CARICOM promotes investment opportunities to Japan in areas such as energy and information and communications technology. The Japan International Cooperation Agency is one of the key agencies through which the cooperation programs are being realized. New Zealand's foreign minister, who was invited to address the CARICOM foreign ministers meeting, held discussions with the president. The foreign minister was in Guyana for 2 days to address the CARICOM foreign ministers meeting and lobby for the region's support as his country contests a seat on the United Nations Security Council later this year.
We're in a tough contest, and we're obviously hoping to persuade countries in the Caribbean to vote for us. We're a leading player in the Pacific ourselves, and the Countries of the Pacific and the Caribbean have many of the same challenges, many of the same solutions they need to seek, and we're trying to develop closer ties. In the last week, our new ambassador, our High Commissioner, who's based in Barbados, has been to present credentials here, which is a sure sign of the closer engagement that we seek with the CARICOM countries generally. And the fact that we've got accreditation here is obviously going to bring our two countries into regular contact at an official level.
Sustainable energy remains a primary focus for New Zealand as well as for CARICOM member states, the ambassador noted.
The countries of the Pacific spend about 10% of their GDP, about 25 to 30% of their total import bills on diesel for electricity generation. And we're on a crash course at the moment to try and increase their renewable component from about 5% to 50%. That's where the bulk of our development partnerships go in the Pacific at the moment. We think some of the lessons that have been used there are applicable here. And indeed we're working with some of the Eastern Caribbean states that have got geothermal potential, because that's an area where we've had 60 years of experience. We also value the sporting relationship that we have here. We have the Black Caps coming to play here in late June, and we hope that being good hosts that you'll allow them to win. We are also looking forward to hosting the Cricket World Cup jointly with Australia early in 2015, and we're looking forward to having the West Indies team visit us and play matches, and see that as an opportunity also for us to have an exchange of senior visits and cultures.
More of the diary after this break.
The importance of road linkages in Guyana's hinterland to propel economic growth and improve access to services is fully recognized. To this end, Budget 2014 has allocated $1 billion to rehabilitate critical interior roads, including the Linden to Lethem Road.
Government's investment in rural development will be further strengthened this year with the sum of $1 billion which has been provided in the 2014 national budget. The sum will go towards infrastructure such as roads, bridges, drainage and irrigation, and community market facilities, along with entrepreneurial activity in rural communities.
Parents with school-aged children will achieve a measure of relief with the provision of $10,000 per school year for all school children in the public schools. This from the 2014 budget is in addition to the school uniform voucher, which will continue to be distributed.
The 2014 national budget has allocated $32.3 billion for education, as government continues to emphasize the sector, which has undergone significant transformation in response to the emerging needs of society. A message from the Government Information Agency.
The Government Information Agency, GINA, evolved from the Government Information Service and was formally launched in 2002. GINA is executing its mandate of keeping Guyanese, both locally and in the diaspora, informed of government's programs and policies pertinent to development. Cognizant of the right of Guyanese to information, GINA, through its dedicated staff, has endeavored to deliver its mandate to the best of its ability. Guyanese have every right to be informed on policies, programs, and projects which impact on their lives. The Government Information Service was in operation long before the PPPC administration took office and discharged the same mandate. GINA is a unit of the Office of the President, and its mandate is similar to other organizations around the world where governments have a fixed body to disseminate their information. GINA will endeavor to remain steadfast to its mandate and takes pride in continuing to serve the people of Guyana. GINA, information for nation building.
President Ramotar, in congratulating the University of Guyana on what he described as an important milestone in its history, stated that the formal opening of the faculty's Confucius Institute was another example of the close and valued relationship between Guyana and China. The president said that this is a relationship that has seen productive partnerships in politics, engineering, economics, and culture. Explaining that the new facility will serve to inform Guyanese, he said that the theme of enlightenment holds special significance for the country, as it did in the time of the renowned philosopher and teacher whom it's named after.
The historians tell us that Confucius lived in a society characterized by warfare and a politics of fierce rivalry. Sounds familiar? But that on many occasions his wisdom, diplomacy, and moral influence managed to prevail over conflicts and disputes. The teachings of this great humanist are relevant today when Confucianism can teach the world about relations between nations and can counsel us in human and international relations.
He further stated that the Institute should serve as a beacon of enlightenment.
To lead as Confucius led, by the superior weight of exemplary moral approaches that will be reflected as the Institute does the work we are told it has set itself. It is increasingly opposite that this is to be done through the international collaboration that reflects the rich history of Guyana and indeed the people of the two nations. It is in this context that I am proud to be part of this occasion and to declare the Confucius Institute University of Guyana officially open.
In brief remarks, the Chinese ambassador Zhang Limin said that the Institute will serve to inform and promote his country's culture and thanked all of those who made it a reality.
Ladies and gentlemen, China has a very long history and a splendid culture, which spans over 5,000 years. Confucius is the outstanding representative of the profound Chinese culture, and the Chinese language is the important content and carrier of the Chinese culture. So far, Confucius Institutes have taken roots in over 120 countries and regions. They set up a platform for learning Chinese language and culture, and are playing a significant part in deepening cultural exchanges and friendship between China and the rest of the world.
The program, offered through a new faculty of the university, contains 4 courses comprising a 3-year program, according to Director Professor Al Crichton, and takes students from beginners to intermediate levels. The program is fully accredited and is available as part of the degree program, he added. There are currently 272 students enrolled. Senior officials of the Atlantic Telenetwork Company, ATN, met with President Ramotar on May 20 to discuss pending legislation with regards to the telecommunications sector. The visit was to apprise the president of the company's presentation to the Parliamentary Select Committee, which is set to examine the proposed plans to liberalize the local sector, according to ATN's President of International Operations, Paul Bowersock.
What GT&T wants to see out of this bill is a level playing field, fair and equitable legislation that pushes the sector forward, that allows allows for good and fair competition, as well as investment and innovation in the sector. Makes us feel good about continuing to invest in Guyana, because we plan on investing in Guyana in the future.
Bowersock was accompanied by ATN's Vice President for Government and Regulatory Affairs, Douglas Minster, and the Guyana Telephone and Telegraph's Company Chief Executive Officer Radhakrishna Sharma. Government has already indicated its desire to open the local telecommunications sector to end the AT&T monopoly for certain services, thereby increasing competition and offering better services for customers. The ongoing issues surrounding the administration of the Nicolas Maduro government in Venezuela were among the main topics discussed by the Ecuadorian Foreign Minister Ricardo Patiño when he met with the president on May 20. The ongoing issues surrounding the administration of the Nicolas Maduro government in Venezuela were among the main topics discussed by the Ecuadorian Foreign Minister Ricardo Patiño when he met the president on May 20th. The need for CARICOM to incorporate the standard system of laws regarding human rights issues was also raised by the minister.
Para que tratemos los temas en condiciones de igualdad. Todos tenemos derechos en el sistema interamericano y también todos tengamos obligaciones en forma conjunta.
We believe that if the issues that have been addressed in the system are brought to the OAS meetings, the OAS all the countries of the OAS also have to be incorporated within the Inter-American system, so we can all address the issues in a balanced way.
Sentimos que hay algunas distorsiones en el sistema de los derechos humanos de la OEA.
We feel that there are some distortions within the system and the OAS.
Por ejemplo, el sistema de relatorías evidentemente le da mucha más importancia a algunos derechos con respecto a otros.
For example, the system of rapporteurships clearly gives more importance to some rights against others.
Y eso es un gravísimo error.
That is a huge mistake.
Porque no se puede considerar que determinados derechos valen más que otros. Todos tienen el mismo valor y todos deberían ser atendidos de manera equilibrada.
Because it cannot be perceived that some rights are more important than others. All rights have to be equally important and treated the same way.
It is important for all rights to be treated the same way, he added.
También hay que discutir el sistema de financiamiento.
We have also to discuss the system of financing.
Es preocupante que la mayor parte de los... Es importante que la mayor parte de, digamos, es grave que la mayor parte de los del presupuesto de las relatorías sea financiado por gobiernos extrarregionales.
It is important that it is a big concern. It's serious that most of the financing of the rapporteurships is done by countries outside the system, outside the region.
Esto tiene que ser también superado.
This has to be overcome.
Pero todos estos temas se tratan en la OEA.
But all of these issues are being addressed within the OAS.
Pero no todos los países de la OEA forman parte del sistema.
But not all of the countries of the OAS are a part of the system.
Por eso es necesario que si todos tratamos los problemas del sistema, todos seamos parte del sistema para que tengamos, digamos, igualdad en el tratamiento de los asuntos.
That is why if all these issues have been addressed within the system, all the countries are a part of the system, so we can have the same amount of responsibility.
Nuestra invitación respetuosa es a todos los países del Caribe que no sean parte del sistema a que analicen la posibilidad de incorporarse al mismo.
Our respectful invitations is for all the countries of the Caribbean who haven't ratified the system to incorporate in the system.
Some other issues of bilateral importance were also discussed, and it was pointed out that whilst Ecuador is not a wealthy nation, there was a lot of positive experience that they could share with other countries. Ghana had hosted the CARICOM Foreign Ministers meeting this week, and a wide range of issues and challenges were addressed by participating country representatives. That's all in this week's diary for the period May 17 to May 23, 2014. Before we go, these were some of the highlights. President Donald Ramotar reiterates Ghana's need for cheap, reliable power as he commissions $2 million investment. President holds meeting with several foreign ministers, and the head of state formally launches the University of Ghana's Confucius Institute. Do join us again for the next program when we will bring you more of the President's activities. I'm Paul McAdam, thanking you for joining us. Have a pleasant rest of the week.